welcome to the Inner Chief podcast, a very special Minisode once again, where we do a question from our audience, from our beautiful subscribers from around the world. This is a Your Questions Answered, and the question comes from Louise in Syracuse. And Louise says, how do you get back into work after a career break? You know what, I actually get asked this question quite a bit. There's a bit of frustration from individuals, often women returning back to work after having babies, but also people who have had maybe been retrenched or out of a role and waiting a very significant period of time, often 1 to 2 years in really senior roles. How do you get back in flow? How do you get and feel like you used to feel? So I want to start with that point. The very first thing that I really want you to think about, Louise, is this: that it's very likely, particularly if you're coming back from having a child, is that your life away from work has changed very significantly. Okay, so the system at home, the priorities away from work, even what you hold dear and most important has now changed. Psychologically, mentally, you've changed, right? So you might find you're in meetings and you're just sitting there and listening to maybe some of the conversation thinking, oh my God, I can't wait for this crap to end. Like sometimes I feel like you're just a little bit less patient because you've got so much more on. So the brain is a bit fuller than it used to be. There's a lot more priorities than it used to be. And so it's important to understand that. Even if you've just had a career break from one role to another, the point here is just make a little bit of a note and maybe do a bit of journaling on how much your life has changed from when you last had a job to now. Because that's an important thing to remember. Your energy is likely to be different. Your knowledge set, everything about you and the world around you is probably now different. It's very important to remember that, because I'm going to go through a couple of other points now, and that's critical to understand. Second thing is this, particularly if you're coming back after maternity leave, what you'll find is that your success is different to what it used to be. So in the old days, you might do a 5-day working week. Let's say you work 40, 50 hours. In your mind, there was a certain number of activities and tasks that you did in a given working week. Now, you might not have that anymore. Maybe you're only working 3 days a week, but in your mind, you haven't, unconsciously, you're still running the same success metric. You still think you've got to do this many documents in a week. And what you end up doing as a result is you end up working 5 days, work in 3 days of effort, on top of all the other things going on in your life. And it just makes it a nearly impossible task. So what's really important is in your mind is ask yourself, what does actually a week's work, if it's only 3 days or 4 days, what does success actually look like in line with the job role? Because I think you need to be kind to yourself a little bit and just lower the bar around the volume. Don't lower the quality, of course, but the volume might well change. So just think about your unconscious metric of success and turn it into something that is conscious and something that you can actually adjust and check out. The third thing is often we go back to work and we just want to do the stuff we're comfortable at, right? And we might have a lot of work coming through the door. We do all the important stuff. What I want to say is just be careful you're not doing things that offer you no joy and you're just sort of busting out the work. Make sure you do stuff that adds value, and make sure you do stuff that applies to your real strengths if you can. Lean into that and enjoy it. I mean, every job has suck factor, right? Every job has suck factor. It doesn't matter what job you're in. But make sure you've got some things that apply to your strengths that let you get into flow at least once or twice a week, so you really feel like you're just starting to get back into the groove as an individual. The next thing I want you to remember is all roles have a learning curve when you start them. It can take, I think actually the research says it takes 1.5 years for us to really be fully valuable to a mid to large organization. 1.5 years to learn the systems, the people, to navigate effectively and really be hitting our straps. So in your first month or 2 or 3 months back, don't be sitting there thinking, oh, I've got to be adding the same amount of value as I was at the end of my last job. That's impossible. You just don't know the systems, the people, the products, the services, as well as you used to. That's going to take time. So you need to be just a little bit kinder to yourself and think like when you start a job, I imagine you've got like a 90-day plan, right? I hope you do. If you don't, then come up with one. The first 30 days of a 90-day plan sounds something like understand. You understand the first 30 days to understand a business as much as possible. Learn the systems, the people, the processes, the customers, whatever it is. The one after that, maybe the next 30 days after that is small bites, small things that can make a measurable difference, the low-hanging fruit to test to make things better. And then 60 to 90 days might be, okay, draft up some plans to make a real difference. You don't want to be making those plans on day one. You don't know the business or the people well enough yet to be justifying that. So take your time. Think about small chapters of 30 days so that by the time you've been sitting in the seat for 120, 150 days, you really feel like you're on track. The last thing is this: get back in the habit of learning. And I mean, not just learning the systems and processes, of professional development, of expanding your knowledge, either technically, tactically, or in a leadership sense. Don't be sitting there just trying to get the job done. If you do 20 minutes a day or half an hour a week in expanding your knowledge set, you'll be back in the game in relation to your peers, because you might well feel like you're a little bit behind compared to when you used to be. Okay, Louise, I hope that helps. And we wish you all the very best over there in Syracuse. All right, Chief, that sums it up for this week. If you've got a question you want answered, make sure you send it through to us at info@chiefmaker.com.au, and I'll do my very best to do a minisode just for you. As always, Chief, remember to stay epic.